You've spent a lifetime learning about the nuances of bread without even realizing it, and Jeannie was starting with literally nothing at 13 or 14 years old. First, it's got a name, bread, and eventually you learn that name. But is bread only the whole thing? When it gets sliced or ripped up, are those pieces also bread? Is there a new name for that, or does it have to be qualified with a new word like slice, which doesn't sound anything like bread? How small can slices get before it stops being bread and suddenly turns into a crumb? If there's a new name for when it gets tiny, why isn't there a new name when it's a huge collection, like on a rack at a bakery? This is French peasant bread. Are the brown ones like pumpernickel also bread, even though it looks nothing like this and tastes completely different? Fluffy leavened bread and compressed unleavened flatbreads are both bread. But if it's called dough and not bread when it's squishy before it's baked, is it still called bread when it's molded on the counter for a month? Is the hard outside a distinctly separate entity from the soft inside with different names, or is it all just bread? If the individual pieces, like the crust, have different names, why don't we list all those pieces when we talk about it? Why do we just lump together all of those separate parts as bread, and how do we know when the components stop and the whole begins? You eventually discover that bread is food. Is it bread both before you've eaten it and as you completely transform it in your mouth and then pass it through your body? Is it still bread as you chew on it but stops being bread when you swallow? Why? And if we make a sandwich out of it, why do we stop noticing the bread? It's still there, it's the top and the bottom of the thing, but all of a sudden we're talking about a totally new word, sandwich. That has nothing to do with the sand at the beach or Halloween decorations or bread. If I have two of the same loaf, why would I talk about the bread as a singular unit? But if I sampled a few different breads, I wouldn't. And what is toast?